Dr. Mmatlou Kalaba, an economist from the University of Pretoria, joins us now for some analysis. You know, Dr. Mmatlou, thanks a lot for joining us this afternoon. One thing that comes to mind, this really does not help the economy, especially given the fact that just yesterday we were speaking about the quarterly or the third quarter results of unemployment and seeing how we rose by about a percentage point, but also looking at how that exacerbates further the pressure in the economy.
Yes, indeed, that was a very difficult midterm budget for Minister Mboweni, considering what he just mentioned, that he is facing a situation where yesterday the unemployment results were presented, which were not looking good. And at the same time, we had ESCOM actually announcing some of the challenges that they are facing. I mean, the debt of over 450 billion. And the entire economy is anchored around ESCOM and ability to provide energy to our economy. So as a result, Minister Mboweni was facing a situation where his previous midterm budget was completely different when he presented it. However, he needed to come up with steps, actions, and also highlighting areas where we need to make steps in order to improve this economy, because at this stage, it is really in a very concerning situation.
I mean, we're speaking about a concerning situation here, but I don't want us to have this high-end, top-level conversation without actually being able to speak quite practically and frankly about the situation. And the situation is, Doctor, that we're simply not making enough to even service our debt. In other words, our debt is more than how much revenue we're collecting, right? And as a result of that, we're finding that our deficit is increasing and then also hampering our ability, even as us consumers, to even spend, even in our own households.
Yes, indeed. The question of debt is also go back to ESCOM, that it has the highest debt, as we just mentioned, the amount, but it's also other SOEs. I mean, SAA is another contributing factor to that. So what is happening is that the money that is taken from the taxpayers to try and assist these SOEs so that they can get the economy going is not really helpful. It's not growing the economy. So unfortunately, it comes back to you and I, to all consumers. I mean, we also have heard how emphatic the minister was about paying the e-tolls. In other words, taxpayer is expected to continue to support the SOEs and the government in other areas in as far as paying our dues is concerned so that the economy can go. So you're right. An average consumer is feeling the pinch, and the average consumer, as the minister said, this time there are no tax changes. But the following budget speech in February, we may see some tax adjustments. And in an economy where you have a deficit of 5% and more, you have the debt to GDP ratio estimated to reach 70% of the GDP by year 2023. That means more hardships is expected unless something really gets done and is done really soon.
I mean, is that the point that, you know, when it comes to something being done and being done really soon, that we start tackling this issue around the state's wage bill effectively? I mean, we speak about how it's been a conversation for years now, and I'm saying this because we've heard it time and time again about how we need to effectively address the public sector wage bill, right? And on the other side of it, it almost appears as though there's no political will to implement. We're having the conversations, absolutely, in Parliament, but there's no political will to actually start and kick-start that. And what is frightening, Doctor, is the fact that it is above the global average where we're sitting in South Africa.
Yes, indeed, as you say, the political will. The minister is caught between a rock and a hard place in the context that we have the economy that needs to go, and we need to take actions that goes directly at the door of the partners of the ruling party in the form of the trade unions. We know where the trade unions stand on the issue of cutting jobs, cutting salaries is out of the equation. I mean, the minister almost stepped into it. He did mention that compared to 2006, South Africa or civil servants, we had, the number of people who are earning $1 million and above has doubled in that period. So the wage bill is not only increasing in size, but the numbers, the two go together. And in the previous statement in February, he did mention that there needs to be some cuts. However, he put it mildly, saying that those who are keen to take packages, those who are closer to retirement, they can do so. However, those are most likely the people that this economy needs in terms of experience and skills. So he basically did not step into it and say, we need to cut the wage bill by so much, and SOEs as well as other government departments need to do their part. He stepped away from it, although he cannot touch on it, but he didn't take decisive actions around it.
Exactly. So it speaks about how, especially when it comes to the South African context, we've got fantastic planning. We have got wonderful concepts. When it comes to the implementation, it almost appears as though something happens and we fall short of it. But we're going to leave our conversation there for this afternoon. Dr. Mmatlou Kalaba from the University of Pretoria joining us to shed some light and even give some perspective in terms of how do we take this medium-term budget forward.